What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another tier list video, and this one is actually a re-upload. Excuse me. I made this video back in 2021, but I rewatched that video a couple months ago. I didn't like it. A lot of my opinions have changed, and actually I've added some albums on here that I started listening to since then. And so yeah, I'm basically just gonna. This is a Redux version essentially, and I'm excited to bring it to you. You guys voted if you wanted to see a 2000s list or a 2010s list. So I'm gonna be doing the 2010s, uh, and I still haven't decided what tier list I'm gonna do next. I have a plethora of ideas to choose from though, so expect more in the future. But yeah, the 2010s, a very dominant year of hip hop. Around the mid 2010s was probably the peak of hip hop streaming, the peak of popularity in hip hop, and we saw so many defying changes in the hip hop genre over the 2010s. We saw experimental rap come into play a lot heavier, trap came into play a lot heavier, the internet era of rap. Some classic boom bap. You had the West Coast come alive with Kendrick. Just hip hop. Even New York came back in the 2010s with the pro era. So we got a lot to cover. I'm gonna try to be quick, brief over each album. So without further ado, let's get this done. Let's do this. Of course, Perfect. High 9 to a 10 out of 10. Classic. This is a great album. I listen to it a lot. I just don't think it sits up here because these albums in Perfect I can place amongst the best albums ever. Great. 8 out of 10. Mid 8. High 8. Solid. It's decent. I don't really come back to it too often, but there's a song or two that I can rely on listening to all the time. Okay. I didn't hate the album, but I don't ever return to it. And Horrendous was just downright. Please don't ever. I don't want to ever listen to that album ever again. So let's get right into it. The first album we are talking about is the collab of Freeway, Philly rapper, and Jake One. I thought the streamlined beats at the time were really nice. I like the very loungy, triumphant, and grandiose vibes on this album. Mafioso vibes on this album. It's just like a celebration rap album. Freeway's coming into his own as a veteran of hip hop. Uh, what are some songs on here? One Thing's a great song. One Foot In is a great song. Intro is a great beat. This is a pretty solid album. Definitely go check it out if you're into that early 2010s, Rick Ross style of rap. Hunger for More 2. It's solid. It's definitely not the first one. If this was a 2000s version of this video, you would definitely see how highly I think of the first one, but the second one's also solid. Forget You is a great song. Sooner or Later. Lloyd Banks is still just a master of punchlines in this album. I don't even remember the name of this. I think it's Who Art Thou Wilt or something like that. Some crazy shit like that. But Ab-Soul, one of his weaker projects for sure. Can't really name any songs on here actually, but I don't remember distinctly hating it. Um, and then we have our first white rapper. We have John Wayne. John Wayne is a, mm, I guess, sub underground, somewhat of an underground rapper. He doesn't really make music too much anymore, but this was back in 2017, Rap Album 2. And this is just a really dark, emotional album. It's very good. There's some great songs on here. Um, I can't really remember too many songs on there, but Afraid of Us, that's the name of the song. Afraid of Us is one of my favorite songs from the 2010s, I'd say. So, I'm actually gonna put it in solid because I just like the themes in that album. I like the sound of it. And then we have our first absolute, catastrophic release. And excuse me, Jesus. Around that same time, came out the same year that I mentioned earlier was like the peak of popular streamed hip hop. Fetty Wap's. Uh, I don't remember the name of this album. I think it's just Fetty Wap, self-titled. But yeah, this is a banger for sure. If I'm gonna put it in solid, it's gonna be at the very bottom of solid. Just because I do think that the songs in this album are a relic of time, but I don't really think a lot of them age too prominently. Pieces of a Man, Mick Jenkins. Another solid release. I would put it right here. I'm gonna say this is the best in solid so far. Uh, and then, yeah, that's how I'd rank them, most likely. Just like that. Victory Lap. Nipsey, rest in peace, Nipsey. This is a great album. Victory Lap. It's triumphant, celebratory. It's awesome, very West Coasty, and a very very nice album. 444. Now this is an album that over time kind of died off for me. I used to listen to pretty much the entire track list from start to finish, but only a couple songs have aged with me correctly, like Marcy Me is probably my favorite song on there. But I would say it would be classic before. I'm gonna put it in great for now, just because when I was listening to this album, I was listening to it a shit ton. And yeah, Blue in Exile, Give Me My Flowers. I mentioned this album back in my CD collection video. This is a classic, mid to high 9 out of 10. So many memorable lo-fi beats. There's boom bap on here. Blue is a poet on here. Exile, dreamy, abstract production, and you know, it's just a relic of time. Songs aged greatly. Uh, Amazing, amazing album. Igor, an album that has died off for me over time. I think Flower Boy has honestly aged better. And I know that's a hot take because kids fucking still listen to Igor like it's no tomorrow. But I think I'm gonna put it right right there for now. I'm not. I'm just gonna drop these albums down there, okay? Because I don't think these three albums. I don't think these two albums actually on the same level as these albums. Wiz Khalifa, this album didn't age well despite having classics. Is that the first one or the second one? I don't know. Um, J. Cole, The Come Up, one of his better mixtapes. Gonna put it in solid. Fly God is an awesome God. I think this is definitely one of his lazier projects. Uh, Very sloppy writing. Not Westside Gunn's best. If Supreme Blientele is on here somewhere, where is it? It's got to be down here somewhere. But Supreme Blientele, Westside Gunn, handedly his most passionate project. Handedly the best bars on there from Westside so far, I think. But yeah, I'm gonna put it right there for now. Rock Marciano Reloaded, that's a solid release. Very dingy, hard bars. You know, Rock Marciano, he's kind of that like new age, nuance, alchemist style production with no drums and no hats in the background of the beats, just smooth, lofty beats throughout, and Rock Marciano just flowing over them effortlessly. This is a great album, very consistent too. And then we have our second classic. I'm gonna put Undone up there. The Blue in Exile release. Undone is one of the most emotional concept hip hop albums ever. Um, and then we have the Carter's album. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, decent Beyonce fan, but this was just, it was okay. Welcome to Fazoland. That is a high solid. Uh, I think that's G Herbo's most critically acclaimed and his most popular work. Um, Sorry, I'm looking for Supreme Blientele. I can't find it anywhere, bro. That album's fucking great. If I would have Supreme Blientele, I'd probably put it high solid low eights. King Remembered in Time, one of my favorite Crit albums. I'm gonna put that in solid. And we have other big Crit here too. I know that. I'll put Return of Forever in low solid, and then I'll put his second best album right there. That is my ranking of the Crit albums that we have on here. Common, Black America again, weaker Common album, and Nobody Smiling. You know, I'm a huge Common fan. His earlier works, his 2000s works, I'd say he has some albums that rank in the top 20 of all time. And that's like 2 to 3 albums that rank in the top 20 of all time. But I think these were just major drop-offs from Common. Uh, Fly God, I think this one is. Same level of Fly God as an Awesome God. I'm going to keep it right there for now. Blue Chips 7000, one of the most memorable Bronson albums. Some of the best Static Selector production Um, Durag versus Headband is a great song. The Chairman Intent is a great song, and Hot Pepper, another great song. But over time, this is one of the weaker aged Bronson albums. Uh, right after this release, he went into his more abstract, only for Dolphins era. But I'm still gonna say this is a solid album. It's Bronson has a very, he doesn't really have that secluded X Factor album. I don't think yet, but he just has so many consistent releases. It's crazy. Yeah. And then we're gonna have our first Horrendous, and then we have Faces by Mac Miller. Probably my favorite Mac Miller release. I'm gonna put it in high solid, and then I'm gonna drop Fazoland down to like here, and then I'll put this goes to higher, and this goes to higher. Rare Chandeliers. I don't really remember this album too much. I know it was a very Gangsta Grill style release from Action Bronson. It was pretty lengthy. It kind of fits in with his first two Blue Chips albums. I think it's around the same era as well. But I'm gonna say it's a bottom of solid. I don't really return to it too much. And then Hot Take. This is my second favorite Mac Miller album. Kids. I think Kids is it's fun. It's poppy. Uh, really defines the era of music. Pop rap, frat rap. And yeah, I think it's really solid. And then we have this album. This album's great. Noah's Cunning Linguist. Beats in here are grim. They're heavy. Uh, Noah's a great lyricist coming into his own on here. And yeah, Death is Silent. Go check that album out if you can't, if you haven't yet. Great underground rap album. I don't listen to Nerd. I don't listen to that album. I don't care for that album. Milky Way by Boz. It's okay. It's alright. I'm gonna put this Little B and Chance album right here because I don't really care for it. Tana Talk 3. That is a high solid. Gonna group it right there with Faces, and then I'm gonna drop Victory Lap down to right here. The Lost Boy. Used to love it. Died over time. And here is my hottest take yet. I don't care what anybody says. People can shit on her. People can say this, say that. I know this album gets a shit ton of flack. I don't care. The freaking choruses on this album are so catchy. 2019 was a great year, partly because of the hits that were on the radio from this album. I love Hot Pink, bro. And I'm not just saying that because you think I'm like a horny little boy. I'm not saying that at all. I think Hot Pink is actually a genius pop rap album. Definitely more pop than it is rap, but dude, you have Bottom Bitch, Shine, Say So, so many just bangers on this album. So, yeah, I think that's a great album. And if you don't like that opinion, suck my balls, honestly. The Game, Jesus Piece, very solid, high solid, one of the best modern Game releases. My formerly favorite Tyler album, but now I'm gonna have to say that's probably an A-OK section. Fonte, one half of the Little Brother, one of my favorite hip hop duos. I'm probably gonna have to say this album. I have to re-listen to it if I'm being completely blunt, but I'm gonna put in A-OK for now, because I don't think it nearly approaches the consistency and quality of any major Little Brother studio release. So I'm gonna keep it okay for now, but I do have to re-listen to that. Another Boss album. I like this one a lot more than Milky Way. I'm gonna put that in the bottom solid. Dave East, Hate Me Now. If you like mixtapes, if you like hard New York rap, if you like great beats, gangster rap, coke rap, great features, longer album, but I don't really care. There are so many just great damn songs on Hate Me Now. I'm gonna put, you know what? I'm gonna put that in a classic. That is one of my favorite mixtapes of all time. High 9, almost a 10 out of 10. It's a lot of, I used to play basketball every single day when I was little, and I had like really big basketball dreams. And this album was just, I was always listening to this shit. That's a great album. Okay, Open Mike Eagle, abstract, underground rapper. Probably his best release to date. If not his brand new one that came out last year was also pretty damn good. But I'm gonna put that in high solid. Brick Body Kids Still Daydream is definitely an album to listen to if you're into that like lo-fi, Quelle Chris style hip hop. Definitely belongs in the solid category. Uh, my least favorite Vince Staples album. I don't see the hype in this album. It's short, boring. The songs aren't that memorable. So I guess there's like Bagpack on there, and there's like the Big Fish song. I don't think this album is that remarkable, and I don't think KOD is either. And I don't think this Flatbush Zombies album is either. Um, and then we have a hit. We have a big, popular, fat, juicy album that shakes the internet to this day. But I honestly don't know what to think about it, man. It's definitely not in my, probably not even in my top five Kanye releases. I just listened to other releases of Kanye. Hang on, one moment. I fucked up on something. This is the Flatbush album right here that I was thinking was absolute garbage. Stray with Rabies rather. But Kanye, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The beats are good, but I just think Kanye is a character on the mic. I always thought his production just carried him, but I just think Kanye as a character, as a personality, even before he became a controversial figure, which has basically been forever, but before he made huge headlines a couple years ago, I just never was into his flow. His delivery was always weak to me. I think that's very prominent on this album. So I'm gonna put My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy in the A-OK category. Earl's Some Rap Songs. This album has grown on me over time, and I see another experimental album on this line that was also that I used to despise. But over time, I learned to love. Some Rap Songs I think is pretty solid. I'm gonna put it in low solid. I don't think it competes with titles like Faces, Jesus Peace, Brick Body Kids, and like all the albums in this hierarchy of solid. But I do think Some Rap Songs is pretty damn good. Probably not Earl's best, but again, these are albums that came out 4 to 5 years ago. Some people completely forgot about a lot of these albums, so I'm gonna have to rememorize some of these as we go. Prime, the Royce and DJ Premier. This shit was awesome. That album was freaking awesome. The beats are awesome. The features are awesome. Royce is a killer on that album. If you're into modern day, kind of like what's that guy's name? ASAP Ferg style DJ Premier production. Definitely give this album a shot. It's a modern age boom bop classic, I'd say, but not quite in that classic territory quite yet. My favorite J Cole album, Friday Night Lights. That is great. Memorable, inspiring. Some of J. Cole's best songs. You have Premeditated Murder. You got Return of Simba. No, Return of Simba was like early J. Cole. But yeah, there's some consistent. It's probably J. Cole's most consistent album, and that's saying something because this is a long freaking album. It's a mixtape, not an album, but who the fuck cares? Tetsuo and Youth, Lupe. If I'm being honest, this is one of my least favorite Lupe albums, and Lupe is one of my favorite rappers ever. I listen to Lupe a shit ton, but I don't really listen to Tetsuo and Youth, and I feel like I would have fallen in love with it by now. And then we got uh, Tribe Called Quest. Thank you for your service. The We Got It From Here album. Again, this is a huge album that came out, and people just fell in love with it. But I honestly don't know, man, because I do like it a lot more than the earlier Tribe albums. But I guess I'm just not a huge fan of Tribe, as it is. But I think this is a solid release. I'll put it in that like mid column of solid. 10 Day, Chance the Rapper. This is going to classic. Probably my favorite album in middle school. I listened to it a shit ton. Very sentimental to me. I don't see really any combatant opinions or factors against it. I think for the time it came out, it was great. Of the you know internet era of hip hop, this is a very strong release. The Game, Born to Rap, it was okay. Childish Gambino, because the internet, rather. It was okay. Cats and Dogs, that shit is a banger. Evidence of Dilated Peoples. This is, Some of the most consistent West Coast DJ Premier beats, Evidence on the mic. It's a great, great, great album. Go check out Cat Dogs if you haven't. Damn by Kendrick. It's okay. And like I said earlier, I did have some experimental albums that grew on me, and Atrocity Exhibition is definitely one of them. Um, Not my favorite Danny project, probably. I would put some others over that. But Atrocity Exhibition has some of Danny's best work. Um, Downward Spiral, Lost. Lost is a fucking banger of a song. Um, if you asked me a couple years ago when I was a complete anti-experimental, I probably would have said a low A-OK to horrendous, and I would have pissed off a shit ton of people. But nowadays, now that kind of normal rap is somewhat boring, Atrocity Exhibition isn't solid. And that doesn't, it's not really that experimental of an album. It's not like screaming or just like incoherent beats. It's still a lot of like enjoyable hip hop throughout on here. So I'm gonna put that in great. And then El Capo, Jim Jones. This is a great album. Phenomenal album of 1/5 or no 1/4 of Dipset. Yeah, Jim Jones is a beast on here. Heatmakers, some of their best production. I think this is a great album. I'm gonna put it in that 8 out of 10 category. Next, we have Benny the Butcher's The Plugs I Met. One of my favorite albums from 2019. I think it's a little short. I think it kind of falls apart during the latter half, but the beginning of this album is just great. You know, with the song with Black Thought, that's a great Crowns for Kings. That's a great, great song. But I think overall as a package, I'm gonna put it in A, okay. Life is Good by Nas. One of Nas's best albums for sure. I'm gonna put it in solid. Kind of that old man Nas album. He's finally coming into you know, the master class of rappers here. Uh, kind of being looked at as an old head rapper at this point, but still very, very solid. Daughters is a great song. Um, yeah, a lot of great work in here. Cherry Wine with Amy Winehouse. That's a pretty damn solid album. Mr. Wonderful. If you asked me 5 years ago, this would be great. High grade, maybe low classic, because I used to have a freaking fascination of this album. But over time, my opinions on Bronson has changed. I've had other Bronson albums grow on me a lot more. I'm gonna put Mr. Wonderful in high. No, I'm gonna put it in solid. I think Mr. Wonderful is still solid just because of its peaks. But there's some really uh questionable songs in this album, like Once an Addict, that just feel like complete filler. Merce in 316, the Iliad is dead and the Odyssey is over. Another one similar to Life is Good, kind of an old man masterclass album. Merce stepping into that veteran era of his career, but still very solid. Merce and Ninth have had a very consistent catalog together in the West Coast underground. Strange music, but definitely, definitely a great album. A J. Cole album that has fallen off for me recently, but I'd still say solid. Um, Probably my favorite studio release of his, Sideline Story, just because of the very inspiring songs on here, like God's Gift, Sideline Story, Lost Ones. It definitely has some of J. Cole's best songs for sure, and some of his best beats, so it just makes me wonder why this is like considered one of his worst albums. I don't really know why. Maybe because people really just shine light on his like albums he released from 2014 to KOD, but I definitely think that's one of his better albums. So I'm really questioning on why it's one of his most hated albums. 24 Karat, Joey Purp, No Thank You. Now Chance is one of my favorite is probably my favorite rapper of all time, but The Big Day, you know, as a Chance superfan, I would think to myself, no matter what the release was, I would just listen to it from start to finish. But there's only a couple songs on The Big Day that I really come back to. And no, I'm not just gonna shit on it just because it's so damn cool to shit on The Big Day. But I'm not going to. I think there is some great songs in here, like Do You Remember, um, and the Big Day song. But as an overall package, this is a Definitely Chance's weakest stuff to date. I'm gonna put it in low and okay. And yes, I don't know if it's a hot take to say that this is better than KOD or Revenge of the Dreamers, but I guess it's a hot take that you can take with you. And putting The Big Day on the same category as My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, another hot take for you. The Believer, The Dreamer, or vice versa by Common. This is a very okay release. Uh, and then we have another classic. Probably the best album so far I've tiered up, and that is going to be No Name's Telephone. You know, this is just. Let me just get into depth with about Telephone really quickly because I freaking love this album. It is, so dreamy. It's lo-fi. You put it on, it just takes you to a place. You can really just put this album on from the first track to the last, and it's just a wonderful journey. I feel like I'm in like a cafe when I'm listening to this damn album, but it's so consistent. There's not one skip. Um, No Name is a beast. She's a poet on this album. Some of the best lyricism of any rapper from the 2010s on here, and definitely one of the best albums from the 2010s. And if I'm gonna make a reach, I would say this is probably up there in my top 10 hip hop albums. So I'm gonna have to put that in the perfect tier. That is probably the first perfect album so far. Lupe's American album. I don't remember a single song on there, so I'm gonna put it in A-OK. The Nas and Kanye album should have been way better. I'm gonna put that in horrendous. Yeezus. I'm gonna put it in horrendous. Alright, I'm sorry, Kanye fans, but this album just ain't it for me. This is when we saw Kanye become not the same artist that he was during his trilogy in the 2000s. And this is not how I like to think about Kanye as, that experimental artist. But I'm gonna have to put it in horrendous. You can call me a Kanye hater, but as a personality, when it came to his 2010s album, he was just not that likable. But if you want to see me put some light on Kanye, Life of Pablo was a pretty solid album. I do like this album a lot. I like the features. I like how consistent it is. I like how it has a lot of soul rap elements, and I think Life of Pablo is pretty consistent too. So I'm gonna put it in solid. Another great J. Cole album, the Truly Yours mixtape, the one and two, combine them together. That's a great album. Uh, a lot of great songs in there that should have been released on two studio albums by J. Cole. Black Beans, Choosy and Exile. I'm going to put that into probably the perfect tier or the high classic tier. I'm going to keep it in the top of classic for now, but yeah, Exile, I'm a super fan clearly since he has two albums of classic so far, but his production is just masterclass. So if you haven't checked out anything by Exile, he's probably my favorite producer in hip hop history, and this album is just dangerously consistent, dangerously abstract, dangerously dreamy, such an enjoyable, groovy, lofty listen. Songs like Familia, not ain't afraid or ain't scared rather, and you have like Teen Angel, Intro, I Did, dude. Every single song in there is just a banger. It's such a consistent album, so go check out Black Beans. Um, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. God, that album aged like milk on a hot summer day just sitting outside. So I'm gonna put that in A-OK. Forever, Mersa Ninth, their 2010 release. It's pretty old, Honestly, I think of it as a 2000s release, but it is chronologically a 2010s release, released in 2010. I'm gonna put it in solid, low solid, just because it's not that consistent of a track list. But I used to love her again. The remastered, redubbed, redone Common song, the Merce version is that beat banger. The Flatbush mixtape, one of the first releases. gonna put that in A-OK, but just to appease to the Flatbush stands, I'm gonna put A Laced Odyssey in probably mid-solid. That's a great album for sure. 1999, Joey. I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna put that in A-OK, just because I think. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it? Where? I just because I think that Before the Cash is handedly the better album, handedly, and I'm probably gonna say that's gonna go into low grade. I love Before the Cash, the hard New York, uh, 90s style production on there is freaking grandiose as fuck, bro. I love that album. I love the motivational features in that album. Meek Mill, this album did not age too well. Worst J. Cole album. And then we have Taylor Bennett. Did I say that was the worst J. Cole album? I forgot KOD existed. Taylor Bennett, Restoration of an American Idol. Uh, Chance's little brother. I think this album's pretty decent. I'm not just gonna hype it up because it's Chance's little brother, but I do think that album's pretty okay. We already did this Freeway album. Put that to the bottom. The Anonymous Nobody, De La Soul. Definitely their Old Man album. I'm gonna put that in A-OK. J. Cole. This is, let me zoom in. What is that? This is the come up. The other one was the warm up. The warm up is definitely better. Yeah, the warm up is definitely better. So I'm gonna put the come up into A-OK. J. Cole is a passionate beast on this album. He wants it, but it didn't age too well, and the production is just not there. Lord Steppington, Evidence and Alchemist. Now that is a great album. I'm gonna put that in the great category. Hard. I love the medieval Western English feel. Spread out, layered out throughout this album. Uh, if you like The Alchemist, definitely go check out that album. Now Flower Boy, I'm gonna say Flower Boy is pretty solid. Um, I don't think either of these Tyler albums have aged too well, just because I think it's a newer album. Uh, and the deluxe version of it just heavily outweigh these two albums. But I do think Flower Boy is pretty solid for when it dropped. This Sob album that everyone just loves, Care For Me, I don't think it's that great. Acid Rap, I'm gonna put it. I'm probably gonna put it in low classic. I don't think it's better than 10 Day, and I also don't think it's better than this beauty right here. Coloring Book, I'm going to put Overtime as this tier list continues. It may move up to perfect, but I think it's essentially a high classic, and sentimentally, definitely one of my favorite albums. The gospel soul, uh, updated version of Chance, classic mixtape. Now I'm going to shake the internet. Well, not really. I guess people aren't too elitist anymore onto Pippa Butterfly. I remember back in the mid 2010s to the high 2010s, if you said anything other than, "Oh my God, this album is the freaking pinnacle of music. Oh my God, Kendrick, slob on me." If you said anything that wasn't, this album is just Jesus Christ in the form of an album, you would basically get crucified. But I think To Pimp a Butterfly is a solid album. I think Good Kid, Mad City, if it's on here, which I honestly don't think it is. Where is Good Kid, Mad City, bro? Good Kid, Mad City is really not on here. But Good Kid, Mad City is definitely the better album. Good Kid, Mad City would probably go into the great category. But To Pimp a Butterfly, I'm not. It's really solid, bro. I mean, there is some wasted potential on this track list, like For Free and Institutionalized, and some of Mortal Man is just a drag to listen to. And but there's other classic songs in here that are just carried the 2010s, like King Kunta, I, You. Um, it's just a very solid album. I just don't see the mastery that people see in it, I guess. Uh, I don't really listen to Nerd. I don't know who ever listened to this album. That song with the Rihanna song, that album with the Rihanna song on it. No, thank you. Now, hot take, I don't mind Lasers. I think it's honestly one of Lupe's underrated albums. I don't think it's better than Tetsuo and Youth, but I do love Lasers. Book of Ryan, the Royce album, probably his best of the 2010s, if you disclude Prime. But yeah, Book of Ryan's very solid release. And I'm not gonna tear up this Plateau Vision album by Lush Life because I don't know if I really count it as a hip hop. I mean, I guess it's hip hop. It has some rapping cuts on there and Styles P's on the album, so I'll give it an A-okay. Uh, Stack Cheddar Galore is a great song. That song with Styles P is pretty good, but as an overall package, it's not that memorable. Kenjutsu Under the Moonlight, an underground album by Novelist. I think that is a great album. Um, and like I mentioned, other Bronson albums have aged on me much better, much more fluently. And probably as of now, Well Done is handedly my favorite Bronson album. His first, aged like fine wine, easily classic album. You know, songs like Cocoa Butter, White Silk, Keep Off the Lawn. There were some just great freaking songs on Well Done. Just when it came out in the internet era, a lot of sound effects were being added to hip hop, and it was kind of just being like a meme or a jokester on the mic was prominent in that era. And Bronson just unintentionally started doing that, and he kind of like brought it to a higher upper echelon, and a lot of rappers started doing it. Not saying that Bronson like started that kind of arc in hip hop, but yeah, Well Done is just a classic, funny, comedic. The bars are amazing, the punchlines are amazing. Static on the production is phenomenal. So yeah, Well Done is definitely Bronson's best album. So Section 80 I think is pretty solid. Another good Kendrick release. Don't think it has the degree of influence or replay value that Good Kid, Bad City or To Pimp a Butterfly does, but looking at this higher class, I definitely don't think it's better than Tetsuo and Youth, and I definitely don't think it's better than Damn. So what the fuck was I thinking? Elzai Lead Poison, um, very underrated album from 2016. Wouldn't say underrated, but I just say this album doesn't get too much attention, and it definitely deserves some attention. I'm gonna put it probably in the great category, and I know I'm trolling a shit ton of people with that hot pink. My favorite Danny album, I mentioned Atrocity Exhibition was not my favorite, and that's because Triple X is actually my favorite, and that is a great album for sure. Uh, Mac Miller, Divine Feminine, one of his weaker releases. Danny Brown, you know what I'm saying? It's okay. Photo, Code of the Friend, it's okay. And then Max, his last album before his passing, Swimming is easily one of his stronger projects. Just because of nostalgia to me. I don't know if it's better than Faces. I know some people would disagree, but I'm gonna put it right underneath Faces. It's definitely within his higher category of solid. So yeah, I think it deserves a place right there. The program, Cameron. Um, Definitely not one of my favorite Cameron releases. Uh, and then definitely one of my favorite Killers releases. Purple Haze 2 is fucking awesome, bro. Stands the test of time. A testament to Cameron's ability to just naturally make bangers. Just because he's just like he's that dude on the mic. He's able to present himself so much as like a boss, and holy shit, voice crack. But yeah, Purple Haze 2, very solid release. I'm gonna put that in solid. Mirrorland, Earth Gang. Um, I'm gonna put Earth Gang, Mirrorland, probably in solid. I used to love that album. Uh, Top Down, great song. Joey Perp, Triple Eye Drops. Gonna put that in solid. Used to play the fuck out of this album, or mixtape rather. But over time, I slowed down, you know? I slowed down, I transitioned into different styles of hip hop. Already did this, the Lost Tapes, we don't even need to talk about it. And then we have some Rock Marciano releases. Behold a Dark Horse, right there neck and neck with Reloaded as my favorite Marciano album. Probably gonna put this in solid, right there with Reloaded, partnering those two together. Uh, RR2, The Bitter Dose, probably not as solid as those two. I'm gonna put it in A-OK, just because this album is a little bit more bloated, a little bit more filler, not as consistent as the aforementioned albums. Vince Staples, Summertime '06 was an okay release. FM was also okay. I don't know, I'm just not really a big Vince fan. Uh, Clearly I enjoy these albums more than Big Fish Theory. I thought Big Fish Theory was just a bore. But Summertime '06 and FM, they have. I love the concept of FM actually. It's like a kind of like a radio play. And Summertime '06 just is like a has some great um, testimony of times, relic of the times songs on there. Uh, North North, just some great songs on there. Already did this dark comedy. Um, Open Mike Eagle. If I'm being honest, this is right there below. Um, Probably right there below Brick Body Kids Still Daydream. I put it in the mid solid. I don't think it's as strong as Brick Body Kids, but I think Dark Comedy for like a. I definitely see a lot of open mic fans who are stronger fans of open mic put that like higher than it sometimes, just because it's a very witty, cool album to listen to, I guess. Um, Next up, Testing, ASAP Rocky. Definitely is one of his weaker projects. I think Live Love ASAP is honestly a little bit stronger. I do like it a little bit more, even though I don't think either of these albums are that great or replayable. I'm just not into that psychedelic ASAP Rocky style of music personally. Um, Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, Bandana. I'm probably gonna have to say this is okay, because Pinata just washes this album. Um, Sandra's Rose album, uh, Scorpion. If I'm being honest, Scorpion is honestly one of my favorite Drake albums. I think it's underrated. I just think because of like playing 2K during the time of this release, this album was all over the radio. And looking back, even though I know a lot of people shat on it when it was pretty big, especially in the hip hop fan community, looking back, this album is pretty damn solid, I guess. I'm gonna keep it A-OK just because I do think there's a lot of sleeper filler on the album. It's really lengthy, and of course it was a cash grab by Drake, but there's definitely some great songs on there. Take Care and Nothing Was the Same. I put these albums on the same pedestal. Probably both in low solid. I don't think Drake really has that wicked great album yet, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, the Freddie Gibbs weird trap album thing that he did, that was not it. This is another great ASAP album. Um, that's honestly probably my favorite of his, and that one's gonna go into solid. Taboo, Denzel Curry. I don't know what to think about it, man. I mean, I guess it's my favorite Denzel album. I know people slob on Denzel, but I think he has still a lot of time left to make that X Factor album, and Taboo's a-okay to me. It's all right. It's pretty good. Drogas Wave, very very impressive. What Lupe did on this album, I'm gonna put that into great. If not, I'm gonna put it onto classic because Drogas Wave, conceptually, the themes on there, the consistency, for considering the length of the track list, Drogas Wave is a banger of an album. And then we have, oh boy, Ray Shremmer 1 and Ray Shremmer 2. What do I think about these albums? I think they're both practically on the same tier. If not, I'm gonna put the first one over the second one, just because you know I have more connection to the first one. But I think they're both okay. I guess looking back, they really didn't age too well. But dude, when kids my age were banging the shit. They were banging it. Like they were hitting it hard from the back. Ground in Water, Blue album. We have a couple Blue albums coming up, but this Blue album, Ground in Water, with Damu, definitely a great album. You know, I may be biased because Blue's one of my favorite artists rather. But yeah, Ground in Water, I'm gonna put in great. Um, and then her favorite color, I'm going to slide up there into classic. And then next up, Odyssey, The Iceberg. This is a pretty solid album. I probably put these two Odyssey albums on the same tier. People hear what they say, um, you know. But yeah, these are two very solid underground Odyssey projects. Definitely go check out Odyssey if you're into that like producer, Black Milk, producer slash rapper kind of a section of hip hop. Definitely two very solid releases right there. Um, Next up, Kari Chanel, Dave East. What can I say about this one? It's definitely not as triumphant or consistent or, as like down to earth as Hate Me Now is. You clearly see that Dave East was going for some hits on here and didn't quite come through, but I still think Kari Chanel's solid for what it was. Uh, so yeah, Kari Chanel's probably gonna go with the solid. No Name, Room 25. It is definitely not Telephone, but it is definitely a classic, and it is definitely also one of the best albums from the 2010s. And I don't think anybody really disagrees, especially if seeing me put Telephone this high. You know, Ace, Montego Bay, uh, what's that other song? Just No Name with all lowercase. Great, great album. Uh, just not as memorable, I guess, as Room 20 as a Telephone rather. Uh, Jadakiss and Fabulous, uh, Friday on Elm Street, not that bad. The beats in there are pretty great, Swizz Beats. Them going bar for bar with each other, pretty damn fun. I'm gonna put that in solid for now. And then these are the albums that I've recently added. I'll put the repeat down there. But I added Fish when Fish Ride Bicycles by the Cool Kids. I've been listening to a shit ton of the Cool Kids. Um, I think they're pretty solid. This album's pretty great. One of my favorite of theirs. I think my favorite stuff of theirs came out in the 2000s though. But I definitely do think this is a high solid, especially now. Uh, you know, Very fun summertime album with some great features. Ghostface is on there. Yeah, just a great album. And then we have the two JPEG albums that I recently started listening to. I haven't gotten deeper into his catalog, but I definitely think Veteran is the superior album. I don't think that any uh, JPEG fans really disagree with me. I'm gonna put that one in solid, and then I'm not a huge Cornballs fan. I'm gonna put that A-OK. I do think it's solid. I think the production is very futuristic and dreamy, so I'm just gonna put it A-OK. And then the York Blue. I know I'm a big Blue fan. I'm very biased, but I also think that is a high great. I'm not gonna put it in classic, just because I think her favorite color is just a shit ton better. Um, Southsiders Atmosphere. This one I started listening to in 2021. It's like a couple months after I released this tier list, but Southsiders High Classic. That is a great, great album. Um, and then yeah, that pretty much does it. Um, I guess we can now chop up the high classics and like the low classics. I put Black Beans up there. I would probably put yeah, those are probably my two favorite hip hop albums of the 2010s. Both very underrated and slept on rap albums. And yeah, that is my Redux version. It took the wind out of me, but I just needed to get this out of the way. I needed to get this tier list redone. And if this is big, if I forgot any albums, because I probably did, considering how large this tier list is, I probably forgot a bunch of albums. If you're wondering where I place specific albums, for example, Good Kid, Mad City is not on here, but I probably would put Good Kid, Mad City within the classic and great category. But if I'm missing any albums, please shout them out in the comments. And big projects coming soon. Let me know if you guys want to see more tier lists because I freaking love making these. They're very easy to make, and I can pop them out like 1, 2, 3. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I enjoyed this a shit ton, and thanks for tuning in.